What's up guys, and welcome back to Tech Plan. Today I've got a cool tour for you. This place is called Aquagarden and it's all about aquascaping. Let's check it out.
Alright, so I want to take you guys on a tour of one of the coolest cafes I have ever seen in my entire life. This cafe is nestled, well not really nestled, but it's sort of hidden in an underground mall in South Korea. This cafe is called Aquagarden and it is absolutely beautiful. Right away when you walk up, you're greeted with a beautiful tank with a hardscape coming out of it, and it's just fantastic. While you're waiting in line to get in, there is this really cool like glass waterfall with a really long planted tank. It is really cool, and there's a lot of like outcroppings that are covered in moss, and it's absolutely beautiful with a little bit of mist from like a fog machine. It's just a sight to see. Once you get to the actual cafe part, instead of paying like an admission to see this place, the prices are just a little higher. They've got a lot of pastries that are around $9, maybe a little less if you did the currency conversion, and the coffees are pretty expensive too, but I look at it like you're paying an admission or something because this place is totally worth it. There are two tanks that are kind of external to the public. One of them is this really big Cichlid Tank. I believe that's how they're pronounced. I'm not really sure. I don't really like those fish that much. Don't hate me, just I'm not into them. But there's also this really awesome goldfish tank. I really like this tank because it almost looks like they're just like floating within the mall. The glass was impeccable and super clean, and you just have these like goldfish just floating what looks like in air amongst all the passerbyers. It really had this really cool look the way it was, and I really like this tank a lot. Once you order your food and drinks, then you can start to enter the actual cafe. This time you're walking through almost like a tunnel with both of those glass waterfalls on both sides, along with fish tanks with some mossy hardscape sticking out, and it's just a really cool way to like walk into this cafe. Once you turn the corner though, you're really greeted with how amazing this cafe is. All around this area, there's a ton of perfectly aquascaped tanks that you actually sit at. So every table has a fish tank that you can look into. And like I said, they're impeccable. These things are fantastic and absolutely beautiful. These aren't just aquariums that were tossed together. These are all manicured and specifically designed to look beautiful. The one nice thing about the mask mandate in South Korea is I don't have to feel too guilty filming in here because most people's identities are pretty well hidden. Now, unlucky for me, most of the cool tables with those singular tanks were all taken up because it is a really busy cafe. There's a lot of people coming in and out of here, and you can see why, because it's absolutely fantastic, beautiful, and just there's like this really tranquil feeling when you enter. Everything feels like at ease, at peace. It's crazy how these tanks, just the way they illuminate the room, really bring a cool feeling. But because so many people come here for that feeling, most of the tables with the singular tanks were kind of taken up, so it's not super easy for me to film this. There's going to be the back of people's heads and a little bit of the footage just because it was pretty busy. Because it was that busy, we ended up sitting in front of a much larger tank instead of those smaller aquascaped ones, but these larger ones are aquascaped, I would argue, and they are just as beautiful and actually pretty cool because they're much bigger. We got a pizza and 2 coffees, and I think we almost spent like $30, but again, it's almost like an admission fee because you can walk around this place and there's a lot to see. I did come to enjoy the tank that we were sitting in front of because it was so tall. There were different layers of fish, if that makes any sense. There was a lot of like ground or like bottom dwelling fish. You had the middle water column fish, and you even had fish up towards the top with these really big lily pads. It was really a beautiful tank, and it was fun to just sit and eat at. Besides just the fish tank, this place really put a lot of effort into the parts that are coming out of the fish tanks. They really knew how to fill up the extra space above all the aquariums with amazing hardscape with tons of real living plants, mosses, and all kinds of other things growing out of these tanks. It was really awesome. It really added to the overall feeling of this cafe because again, you had these aquariums, then you had these beautiful lit natural woods and plants sticking out of them that just added to the ambiance and the overall feeling. It was really incredible. After eating our little pizza thing and having my coffee, I decided to walk around and look at some of the other tanks people were sitting at because again, there was probably like 20, maybe 30 of these tanks, so there was quite a few to see. I tried to find the ones that I could actually film because some of them were blocked by people. I really liked this one. It had a lot of really awesome depth. The person who aquascaped this one brought the sides almost to the complete front of the tank and the middle, so they could really create this like channel on either sides of the center column, and it really had a lot of depth with the java ferns and the grasses and everything else that was growing in there. It was really beautiful. The guy who was sitting here ended up walking away, so I could get some closer footage, so please don't think I'm just like barging in on this guy's space. Everyone I stayed plenty far away from and just used more of like a zoom lens. But again, this aquascape was really beautiful. This aquascape was pretty neat too. Again, this one had a lot of that depth built in, the way they added the stone. I believe this one is dragon stone that they ended up using for this one. And then I love when you add like red fish, red shrimp, or any other very contrasting color animal to the tanks, because it looks really beautiful when they stand out. This was another really nice tank. Here's another one that really has a more natural feel. A lot more wood is in this one. Some of the previous ones were a little more stone. This one's a lot more wood. And again, I think there's some java fern in there, some mosses, some of those grasses. I just really love all the greenery. These planted tanks are so beautiful. They did have a few other standalone tanks that were much larger in Aquascape that were really beautiful. I did capture a few of those. Some of them were in a little peculiar areas where it was hard to film, but one of my favorite ones was this one with these center stones. I really like aquascapes that are long and then have like almost like a grassy plains look with almost like mountain outcrops. I don't really know how else to describe it, but I love these ones that almost look like a bigger landscape if you were looking from far away, all contained in a smaller like aquarium. I really love this appearance and I think it's fantastic. This person did a really good job aquascaping this tank. There's actually quite a bit different species in here that are all schooling around and doing their own thing, and they almost feel like birds to me when they're swimming around in the column. And it's just such a cool feeling. I really like this tank a lot. Here was another one that almost looked like a submerged forest, or they were almost trying to go for a forest look with the tree limbs sticking out of it. A really cool design in my opinion, and I love the long grasses in the back with the shorter stuff up in the front. I'm not really good about talking about these aquascapes because I'm not that educated about them, but darn it, I do really enjoy these, and I love the greenery and I love the way people plant these. Even if you're only a plant person watching this, I'm sure you can find a way to appreciate these awesome aquariums. Here's another one that's very similar to the previous one. This is one of those smaller tanks that you can sit at, and again, it has that almost forest appeal with a lot of the grasses in the background. Really beautiful design. I've seen this done elsewhere and I always love it. Some of the tanks had one of my favorite aquarium animals, and that is cherry shrimp. I think they're super awesome because they come in different variety colors, and they're just little critters that crawl around on the carpeting plants and just look fantastic. I always feel like they're almost like herds or livestock in these aquascapes, while the fish are like the birds when they make these really like expansive landscapes, if that makes any sense. This tank also had a lot of reds mixed in with it, where earlier we've seen mostly primarily green colors, but one of the tanks had a lot of reds. I wish I got a wider shot, but I totally failed to get that, so this is kind of all you get, but it was really beautiful. You just have to take my word for it. Inside the cafe, they actually had a small, almost like aquarium shop. They sold a few different things, but when you walk into it, you're greeted with this massive cube tank. It was absolutely fantastic and beautiful, and it was one of the few tanks that you can walk all the way around. I personally love tanks like this because they build up like a center column, and the fish will sort of just swim around and around, and it's just like this very relaxing feeling. And again, I love being able to walk completely around a tank and seeing it from all different angles. I really love this tank, and I almost wish they had a few more of these cube tanks within this cafe, but still, it was an awesome sight to see. This tank also had a lot of ember tetras, which are one of my favorite like nano fish for these smaller aquariums. Even though this is a big aquarium, I really love the like bright orange, almost see-through appearance, so I was glad to see a bunch in this tank. This one also had a bunch of neon tetras, which again are fish I really love because of their vibrant colors and their schooling habits. That's another, for me, I really like nano fish just because I can only afford smaller aquariums. So it was really cool to see this tank, a massive tank with large schools of these nano fish. They did have a section of smaller nano tanks with a bunch of small fish, and a lot of them were betas. I'm not sure if they were selling the whole setup or just the beta fish, but they were still really beautiful to see. They also had some little terrarium things that I didn't expect to see, but I guess it kind of goes with the whole vibe of the cafe because we did see a lot of big like upper hardscape with like actual plants on it, so it was neat to see.
Well guys, that pretty much sums up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I thought this place was sublime and just absolutely peaceful and awesome to be at. If you guys ever find yourself in South Korea, you definitely have to seek this place out. I will put something in the description so you can find it. But anyways, this is just one of the few tour videos I do have from my trip to Korea. I got a few other more plant related ones that I think you guys are really going to like. So I hope you guys stay tuned for those. As always, may your plants grow strong and healthy. I'll see you next time.